Hey everybody, this is episode 27 of the DCC. We've got movie news, Emoji Movie, right? I know you're all excited to talk about the Emoji Movie. This week on YouTube, Retro Disney. Oh, that's a sad place to put it. Why do we...
It's the only place that it made sense to put it.
Yeah,
we're gonna reminisce.
Disney,
we're gonna reminisce
about Marty Sklar. He passed away this week. It sent shockwaves through the Disney-verse. Everyone sent their thoughts and prayers, so that was helpful. Yeah, we've got the 401 on 1901, Marvel moment, Parks news, Gotta Geek Out, which we actually have a real segment about Gotta Geek Out, and we've got some community shout-outs, but no, it's not a guest, because we're still testing this new setup we have. So Link and I would like to say to all who come to this happy place, welcome to the Disney Culture Club.
Did you just have your mug up here and you never took a drink from it?
Mm-hmm.
It's only a stage prop.
It's only a prop. There's nothing actually in there.
It's hot coffee, but not the code in Grand Theft Auto to get naked people. It's just hot coffee.
All right then.
I guarantee there's a 30-year-old out there who's like, yes, hot coffee code.
Yeah, I just learned it now to play GTA.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Not that they just learned it, that they like the reference.
Oh, okay.
I mean, everybody else just learned it, so.
Yeah,
right.
No, they didn't. It was very famous.
That's true. It's pretty prominent.
It was pretty prominent. It was,
might as well be like the Konami code at this point.
Yeah, okay. It was like in.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Being the gamer that I am, I totally already knew that.
Shannon, there's just two types of people. There's people who've been and met Jacksepticeye, and there's people who haven't.
My God.
And you're just in the not category. Even Josh is in the in category.
Oh my God. You know what?
So
I could just leave.
Also, I think I'm not going to reschedule the start time of the show around Josh anymore. That's what I'm not going to do.
Oh, okay. We're starting the show early because I actually have important Network 1901 meetings after this.
Important business
I was
things.
like, what am I doing here? It's too early. It's Mandy's
Josh
birthday.
is taking over your show.
We went to a tiki bar called the Shameful Tiki last night, and it does stuff. It was fun. It had lightning and a smoke machine and a gong, and I was like, I want to take Josh and Shannon here. Shannon will never come here, but Josh might.
Why wouldn't I ever come there?
I don't know. I would look up ticket prices to Vancouver to Nashville.
That's true. It's probably very expensive.
And then think, why would I go out there?
Yeah, that's true. Although, if I ever went anywhere, that whole, just the Northwest, I like it better.
The Pacific Northwest, it's cool. It's one of those things where when Josh comes, he'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I could have moved here too." He'll be like, "Oh, it wasn't just California. It was just not Colorado."
That's true. I just needed to be by an ocean. Yeah. Here's the thing, though. So you came out here. We went to Trader Sam's because you'd wanted to go to a tiki bar, and now you're looking for a replacement tiki bar. So that you can still have that vibe.
You can fill the void.
Yeah, well, it was Mandy's birthday, and she loves tiki stuff, and she commented that she was she wanted to go or whatever. But in retrospect, I probably shouldn't have gone because it made it miss her other party that we were supposed to go to, and that sucked. But we got to go to a tiki bar, so that was fun.
Nice.
We got to do the thing I wanted to do on her birthday, so that was super nice of me.
Of course.
No, it's not.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
It wasn't the intent. But I digress. Which I've never done before on this show.
No.
But I would like to talk about some movie news. Atomic Blonde, it got released this week. It looks... Actually, there's not a trailer that I've seen of Atomic Blonde that looked poor. like, I thought Atomic Blonde looked great. I think the trailers look great. I want to see it. It's in that John Wick, James Bond vein.
And Universal was pushing it hard.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
they've been pushing it for a while.
Universal wants a franchise so bad. Like, do they have any franchises right now? Like, because you know they're gonna.
They're trying to do Mummy.
I know they're trying to do.
They're trying to do the universe.
Yeah.
They're trying
to
in
make
plans.
They wanted this to make this Bond, right? They wanted Atomic Blonde to be Bond.
Yes.
Yeah.
What else? What else do we have? What else are they trying?
They're currently interested in a Pets sequel.
That's right.
Because they want to make all of those characters familiar. So much so that they're building. So Nintendo World is going to be in Japan and Orlando with 3 rides. Hollywood is only going to get 2 of the rides for Nintendo World, and instead of a 3rd ride, we're going to get a Pets attraction.
Like,
that's how much they're banking on the fact that The Secret Life of Pets is going to be a franchise for them, similar to Minions.
It did.
Oh yeah, and I guess they have Despicable Me as well, with all that.
Yeah, they got some stuff, but they don't have a franchise, and you can in a live action franchise, and you can tell they're looking for one, which worries me because it worries me that they'll be like, you know what we should do? An E.T. franchise.
They're just making films for the wrong reason.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
You know what we should
which
do?
worries me about Atomic Blonde. I still want to see it, but I'm worried that it's going to be like, we're just trying to throw all of the aspects that people seem to like at this movie and see if it works.
Yeah,
it's Tomb Raider, right? Kind of thing.
Well, I don't know if it needs to be compared to Tomb Raider because there's a female lead. Sexist.
No, I'm just saying like that. Like it's kind of like a adventure, like gunslinger type of.
You mean like James Bond and John Wick, like I already established?
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? Josh hates Dale.
I do hate Dale a lot.
That face is just like,
Emoji Movie. It didn't make a lot of money, but guess what? It cost nothing to make. Who would have thought? It actually made half of its gross back, which is crazy. So it made $25 million. It had a $50 million budget, which I'm okay with. I think it's fine. Like, I like the lower budget. There needs to be a good amount of lower budget animated films because they can't all be like $250 million and then it's like The Good Dinosaur and you're like, oh, why did you spend $250 million on that? Well, it looks beautiful, but
right.
Well, when your top billed actor is T.J. Miller,
exactly.
It's like it's not like you're going for like sea level.
Oh yeah,
and that's not to say anything against T.J. Miller. It's just
no, but like his pay grade is probably not a Chris Pratt Lego Movie pay grade.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So
last I heard, this movie was sitting at 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
it was at 0, so I guess it's trending upwards.
It's
right?
trying. It's hanging in there. I don't know.
The thing with Atomic Blonde, it was 4th with only $18 million, but it only cost $30 million to make, which is okay. If you are a movie producer right now listening to this show, and you have the ability to make whatever movie you want, make $30 million movies. Always make $30 million movies. But you will make your money back every single time, especially if you get any sort of world. Like when you make Atomic Blonde, I don't think there was very much hype around. People don't really seem to want to go, they didn't seem too excited about it. I didn't hear much buzz about it. It made $18 million. And you've made more than half your budget back already in your opening weekend. So, even the failures are still successes with $30 million.
Yeah.
$30 million
I think most
budget,
of these...
$75 million budget. Those are my 2 favorite budgets.
I think most of these movies, now, really ridiculously aim for, especially summer blockbusters, aim for, this goal of hitting 75 to $100 million in opening weekend.
Yeah.
And it's you're not realistically going to hit that unless you've got a serious name behind you, as an actor, or that you've got
the trailer's just great,
or a franchise. Yeah, it's mostly sequels that are hitting that 75 to 100 million situation. So if it's
that
an
familiarity
original
thing.
if it's an original film, you should know that you're you've got to kind of go in and maybe like the box office weekend opening isn't going to be great, but maybe you can build some buzz throughout the weeks afterwards and grow it. I mean, like, I don't have anything. I want to go see the Emoji Movie. I don't want to go see it. I want to watch it at one point because I want to watch it. Yeah, I want to watch it like in the same way that you would like Mystery Science Theater watch it, right? But Atomic Blonde, I want to be successful. I want Universal to be successful with something. I just feel like they're not
anti-Universal.
I just feel like they want so much, so badly to be at a space where Disney's at, both in movies and in the theme park game, that they try just too hard.
Well, I think so.
They need to find their own book franchise first. That's one. Have a book fandom. That's a huge key. And be smart about your budget. Like, don't be like, we've got it. Let's it's already going to make $1 billion. Let's put $250 million into it, into the one movie. You know, like you put $500 million into 5 movies. You know, like
right.
Bye. Mandy's leaving. Everybody. She's going for a birthday brunch. And so they just aren't planning it outright. Like they're picking things that don't even have a fandom and hoping it'll turn into franchises. And like that's not quite the like if Warner Brothers had invented Batman, like they invented Batman for the movies, it probably wouldn't be doing. Like, it probably wouldn't be, like, fail-proof the way it is. Like, Batman vs. Superman shouldn't have made all its money back and then some.
That's true.
But it's Batman and Superman. It's fail-proof. You can.
I do think that there is, going back to the Dark Universe, I do think there's a built-in movie audience for classic horror monsters.
But they haven't...
They're not doing it right.
And Shannon and the people who listen to this show and maybe some other people know that that's what they're trying to do, but no one else knows that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
sure.
And so no one's on board. They
also have not showcased it well. Like they're trying to build a horror movie monster showcase,
with action adventure film.
They marketed it like an action movie, and that's not. I felt like that's not what they were intending to do, but that's what it came out as. And I don't want to see a monster movie franchise that's action movies. That's not what I want.
They could be making Universal monster movies for $35 to $75 million per film, and those would be great budgets for those types of films. You play it even a little like newer and cleaner, but a little schlocky. And you make that its own, like, almost the anti-franchise.
Sure.
Yeah.
Every movie's a hit because of, one, your budget, and two, it is different. You're not trying to turn the Mummy and Dracula into superheroes like that,
right? Yeah, they're going about it the wrong way.
Find your own superheroes. There are other superheroes out there that aren't like grabbed up. You could find Dark Horse superheroes. You could find like Grant Morrison has a list of characters that he probably hasn't even shown people. Like there are.
You could do something interesting like Watchmen, and draw it out.
Yeah, sure. Watchmen shouldn't have been a singular movie. The TV show probably will be much better. But yeah, there's a lot you could do. So I do want to talk about Dunkirk, though.
Sure.
That's in 75% of the film. Guaranteed.
Really?
That ticking is in 75% of the film. It is all third act. It's like, it tells... So... Some people like it shows you, but it's still a little like you're like, what? In this in the film, an hour and 40 minutes that's telling a story. It's telling one story about this place called the Mole, and it's 1 week. At the same time, it's telling the story of the sea, and it's 1 day. And then it's at the same time as telling a story about the air, and that's 1 hour. And so that's how it plays with its story structure, is that the happenings of each situation are are within a smaller time frame, which makes everything more intense. It's really weird. Like, you make things that are happening over a week just as like intense and stressful as the thing that's happening over an hour. So that is a really cool story element. It's not graphic at all. It was really weird. Like, it's intense, but like there was not a moment where I was like, "Oop, I wish Dash didn't see that." There was really cool moments, just intensity. I wouldn't say it's quite the anxiety attack that people are saying it is, but it's an intense film that you probably only need to see like twice. Like, I felt like there wasn't a ton of rewatchability in it for me. Not like something like Saving Private Ryan, but it's an excellent film, and it's a masterclass in how to make, like, Christopher Nolan. I don't even, like, he must just like close his eyes now and just like, he can just make films. Like, he's never made a bad film. You could argue that his closest like worst film would be what was the one with Al Pacino? The
Prestige?
No, that's like his greatest film.
Yeah, it's like, I really love The Prestige.
Hold on, let's look this a little bit. I know someone's like screaming at me on the bus right now.
Well, so while you're looking it up, I think it's kind of an interesting way for him to kind of branch into something different.
Insomnia is a great film. Al Pacino, Robin Williams, everyone should see it. But like, it's the most. It was his production film before he had a lot of power. So it's, you know, sure, what I mean? You know, yeah.
Do you think that this film, because of its gimmick, will end up as an Oscar runner? Or do you think that it's a good enough film without the gimmick? You know, because most people say that this whole movie is basically an intense third act.
I think that it's going to get a score nomination. Like, you know, adding the Inception music to World War II is pretty intense. And the idea of a ticking clock always going. And it's not distracting, but like, and it isn't going that much, but it just makes you, like, anytime something's happening, I think it does fade back in, and it's definitely, like, you know, the Inception music is actually the music that like the Rose song, the French song that he's obsessed with, that Leonardo DiCaprio's character's obsessed with. The score is actually that song, but like, it's a sample and then like changed, and you know, so like they do that layering in their music, Hans Zimmerman, and so I like, definitely that ticking clock is like, they've taken that sample and it's even when it's going like boom, boom, it's still the ticking clock, so it's like always this ever present, like, and it's trippy. It was a cool movie. Dash loved it. Dash was just like, he's like, that was really,
that was gonna be my question, is if he liked it.
Oh, of course, yeah, he loved it.
Yeah,
he thought it was awesome and intense, and it really, like, you can, if you have like an 11-year-old and stuff like that, it's like totally fine. Like, if there was not, like, Saving Private Ryan is way more grotesque because like the carrying the arm and stuff like that.
Yeah. I definitely I'm more interested in that kind of aspect, like the score of it and the way that the movie flows, because I'm not really super into like these war type movies, but I liked what I was hearing about it being super intense and stressful, because I like that a lot better than being like super violent or super graphic, because it's making you like uncomfortable and unsettled. So that makes me want to see it more if it's like that.
Yeah. Just take Ativan. Well, you know what? With that, I think that's enough movie news. Go see Dunkirk. And we're going to get the Network 1901 boost for Dunkirk there. And
there you go.
Yeah, let's move on to This Week on YouTube.
Cool segue, guys.
Not as cool as your segue that I'm sure you wish you drive around on.
Oh my gosh.
What? I so hate you.
Oh my god.
Also, I meant to say, let's get on to This Week on YouTube, starring Shannon McCarter.
That's why I did this while I was drinking.
You gotta stop drinking all the time, Shannon.
I'm sorry, I can't help it. I have a problem.
All right, Shannon. What do you got for us this week?
Okay, so I have recently become obsessed with this new YouTube channel, and it's basically this guy giving you writing lessons or what writers should learn from major things throughout pop culture. And the one that I selected is what writers should learn from Legend of Korra, which is, the spin-off of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And it's amazing, but I think it gets a little bit lost because its characters weren't as good and its stories took a little bit more time and that kind of sort of thing. But the way that he talks about it just brings back all of those amazing story notes that this entire series had. And it's I was so into it that I actually went out and bought the box set because I wanted to rewatch this entire series. Yeah, and it's just, I own them. It's so good.
Yeah, I own them all on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
It is so good. And for me, one thing about Korra does is it keeps raising the stakes.
Right.
And it does it so well.
And you sympathize with the bad guys. You understand them fully. Always they're not just the Fire Lord that's just always looming in the background. No, it's you understand where the Equalists are coming from. You understand all of the villains, and that really just makes it so much bigger.
Well, and the Fire Lord wasn't really your bad guy or your antagonist in
no, not really.
It was Zuko, right? So that
yeah, I guess throughout it, and it did keep changing. It was
Zuko hunts them down for a really long
but only
time.
Really. Technically, in the first season, it was General Zhao or whatever, and then it was Azula, and then it was kind of still Azula.
I guess so.
Because Zuko was kind of and he got that redemption arc at the end, but it's not spoilers anymore.
10 years ago.
For anyone who's never seen any of these Airbender shows,
you don't know what we're talking about, do we, John?
You're with me. I'm in the dark here.
If you haven't seen any of this, you need to watch all of it, and you'll understand why I like Kylo Ren so much.
Especially if you love storytelling and you love what animation can do, you will never be the animation king if you haven't watched Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra.
Yeah,
they are.
For real.
Are you calling me the animation king?
No, I'm not. I'm saying you could be.
Because you haven't seen these, so you're not.
Yeah. That's awesome, Cher. Thanks so much for that. I went deep, guys. This is old stuff here, but guessing by the youthful exuberance of a lot of our listeners, I'm guessing you haven't seen this old YouTube video. It is super long. The first one's 7 parts, I think, or 10 parts. Red Letter Media. Some of you might be like, oh gosh. Red Letter Media does a Phantom Menace breakdown. It will break down every single aspect of what was wrong with Phantom Menace. It will, it took me a long time to recover after watching these because they really show you,
rip it to shreds.
How it's not even that he rips it to shreds. He just when he explains how you would write a story or how you would write a movie or how you would edit a movie, and you go through it, you're yep, that's true. And the reason why I want to show this is because I've mentioned it before, and I forgot that it was part of this. There is a clip, and it's great, and he's talking about it. But also in Red Letter Media, he plays this weird old man character that is trying to kidnap you or has people kidnapped. I don't know. This is a weird narrative that he has going on during the story, but you should all watch it because it does help understand some of the failings of the film. But there's George Lucas talking about how the film isn't very good, and like he may have went too far in some places, and he can't edit it because of how he made this stupid film. Like you can see him, and like Rick McCollum is just like, I should have said something. Like it's so funny, and everyone needs to go and watch these because I know some of you out there who probably still haven't watched it, and you're big Star Wars fans. So it's good to watch. Hopefully, it doesn't make you like ruin the film for you. It didn't ruin the films for me. I needed to take some time afterwards to like rethink about my life.
Basically.
So Red Letter Media, start with Phantom Menace. And when you see like it has like 8 million views, or like I'm not like thinking I'm finding something special here, but I know some of you haven't heard it, or seen it. So check it out.
I haven't. I'll check it out.
Exactly. I know you're going to like be like, "Dale, I'm obsessed with this. It's so weird. I hate the guy. And I think he's wrong in every point, but whoa, he really breaks down the movies."
Yeah, that's totally what I'm going to say to you.
Yeah.
Also, she has a lisp now.
Yeah, apparently.
Cool.
Well, no, that I don't know. My lisp comes out with when I do some characters. Okay, thanks. Thanks for body shaming me.
Oh.
Anyways, God, Josh.
Josh is so insensitive.
I wish podcast listeners could just see how. Can you hear
face.
Josh's eyes close?
Yeah, he just closes them real slow.
It's almost like when I close my eyes, I just pretend you're not in my life for like a few moments,
and then you quickly open them again.
It's like you just breathe, and you're like, just calm down.
Right,
it's gonna be okay.
It's an anger management tool.
Yeah, he's counting to 10.
Yeah. I feel like I shouldn't be the one who generates the most anger in your life, but that's okay. With that, let's get on to a very sad and tragic version of retro Disney, but we will talk about the cool stuff. Josh.
Yeah, I'll talk about it since I'm more of the parks guy anyway here.
Yes, that is who you are.
I'm the king of the parks.
But not animation.
Not animation, just the parks. Marty Sklar, though, worked for the Disney company since 1956. He passed away at the age of 83 this past week, and he was just at the D23 Expo.
Yeah.
I mean, crazy. He was presenting awards at the Legend ceremony. He is a Disney legend himself. But he'd been working at Disneyland since 1956. That's when he started. And he saw the opening of every other Disney theme park around the world. He was in charge of most of them. He got to be at the last one, Shanghai. He originally helped build a lot of stuff in the 1960s at Disneyland. So you're talking about all the stuff from the World's Fair, the Tiki Room. You're talking about like Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion, like anything that is integral that you think is kind of classic Disneyland at this point, he had a hand in. And then he had a hand in the vision of every single Disney park that came after it. And he was a champion of Walt Disney in the fact that he was willing to change and adapt with times. I heard a story yesterday about when they opened the Tower of Terror. He's not a fan of dropping. At the time it opened, he was in his 60s, but he was one of the first people to ride it. So much so that like it had not, like when I say first people, I mean it had not dropped in sequence at that point. And he was a part of the first. This is a great story. If you've ever ridden the Tower of Terror, you know there's 3 parts at the Orlando version. You go up in the tower, and then you leave the elevator shaft and move forward.
Yeah.
And then you move into a separate shaft where that shaft catches you, and that's when you go up and down in the big drop sequences. Well, in the very first ride of this, all the Imagineers that were on it did not know if the cab and the second shaft was actually going to be there to catch them. They had neglected to remember that. So everyone, including Marty Sklar, has their flashlight out. So when the door opens for people to get into that same cab. They were shining it everywhere to make sure that like they didn't have to pull some emergency brake and like on a walkie-talkie so that like they wouldn't all actually just drop to their death.
Oh my god!
Like Marty Sklar, as a 60-year-old man, was willing to be one of the first riders in probably the scariest like attraction at that point
in Disney's history.
Wow!
In Disney's history, like he was such a champion of changing and growing, and like knowing that the parks had to change and adapt with times. And I'm not bringing up like our conversation from last week about like changing and adapting with times, but I will say like he was one of the things that was still Walt's legacy. And I know now, especially he's, I think the first big blow for what I'm going to assume will be several people who worked with Walt, and who were kind of Walt's guys and champions of Walt Disney's ideals for the theme parks and for animation, etc., who are probably going to pass away within the next 5 to 10 years. And so
would you say that he is kind of like to the parks as Walt was to early animation?
I wouldn't go that far, as the parks were already established. I mean, he started in 56. By established, I mean it had opened.
Right.
But, like, he did revolutionize things. And he was a part of more of a team than he was necessarily a singular man with a vision. But he was vice president of Disney parks for a long time. And he was in charge of a lot of pieces that came into the parks, a lot of attractions, a lot of theming. He was in, I mean, if you've ever stepped, and I said this on Twitter and Facebook, if you ever stepped once into a Disney theme park, any of them, all around the world, Marty Sklar was a significant reason to the magic that happened there. And so for him, for his loss, even though he was not necessarily on staff when he left, he was being, asked to come to Shanghai and, check it out. He was being asked for ideas or brought into meetings, even though he wasn't formally on the staff anymore. Because I think a lot of guys looked up to him. Guys and girls looked up to him. And losing him means, like, in some ways that Walt Disney's vision of never growing either gets lost or somebody else picks it up. So I hope that, like, the next generation is the generation that says, like, okay, we need to continue changing and adapting. And it seems like that's so. From the D23 Expo, they were gung-ho on a lot of changes. We learned about a lot of things. But Marty Sklar, his loss, I think, just is significant because I think it will be the first of many to come in the next few years. And that's it's unfortunate, but it also brings light to the positive side, right? Of, like, if we're doing things right, the younger Imagineers will pick up where the older Imagineers left off. And it gives us, as podcasters or interviewers or YouTube people, whatever, get the opportunity to talk to these people. I got the opportunity to talk to Rolly Crump a few weeks ago, and, like, I latched onto every word because I know that he's excited to tell his stories, because I think he understands that if his stories don't get out now, they may never get out. So it's kind of our duty as broadcasters to the world in some way to talk to these guys and to get their stories out there so that people can hear them. And Marty was great at that. He got books out. He was doing interviews left and right all the time. So you can hear a lot about Marty and who he was just by searching on YouTube or going through old interviews, just by Googling him. So,
yeah. Well, thanks, Josh. That's nice. I'm sure people learned a little bit more, and because I get, like, not everyone knows every Imagineer and who does what, and they can still be fans of Disney. Can. So, thanks, Josh. That was nice. I don't know if I want to do the retro Disney video intro on this one.
You want to run the peppy happy music with that?
But let's get on to a 411 on 1901. All right. Well, Shannon read Revenge of the Sith. She liked it.
I loved it. It was really good.
You can check that video out on YouTube. We have a D23 vlog video. Was mostly filmed by Angie, or all of it was filmed by Angie. And
most of it.
And
I got a couple of pieces of my own in there.
Yeah, and then that was fun. It was nice to see we didn't even get everybody that we saw in there, but it was nice to just have those moments of the people that we saw and love. And actually, I was thinking Mandy was talking about Jenny Ray the other day, and she was like, "Is she just as nice as you think she might be in real life?" And it was like, "Oh yeah,
just watch this." Yeah.
So it was such a great time. Good to reminisce. And how Disney cultivates its fans. MMR, Modern Mouse Radio, the podcast, obviously. Josh had one of his best guests on in a really, really long time. Me! I was on Modern Mouse Radio. So that was fun.
Pretty reluctantly.
I will say, as an outside person that wasn't involved in this, I think you both did a very good job. I really liked that episode. So there you go.
Thanks.
Thanks. And Riverfront Square. That is The World That Never Was, which it'd be nice to have the show titles.
But maybe if somebody else wanted to update the rundown.
I know. I've been slacking on that. But The World That Never Was has been continuing after its unannounced hiatus.
Sorry, man. Jeez, bringing it up.
Nesting.
Yeah.
Riverfront Square. If I recall, it's set mostly in Missouri, St. Louis, right?
Yes.
So that is a really interesting story. Riverfront Square, there was a lot of places that were going to, Disney was going to build a bunch of different little places. It was all of America was going to have theme parks, basically. Josh could do this series forever. But yeah, make sure to check out the latest episode of The World Never Was about Riverfront Square. It's super interesting. Alcohol is at the bane of the existence on this one. But it's cool that there's always a different reason, and Josh goes into those reasons, and I love it.
Right.
But share with your friends. Subscribe.
Next week's the last week of The World That Never Was.
Yeah.
Oh, that means Josh and I need to get started on some other things.
We are, we're working on some other things. Yeah. But The World That Never Was ends next week, so make sure to catch up.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to catch up; you can listen anytime, but it's a good reason to catch up.
But make sure to subscribe to the Network 1901 feed, or go to the website network1901.com. And please, in the last little weeks, we haven't had reviews being left on iTunes. If you listen to us on iTunes, please just take the moment to leave a review. It means the world to us. Our community grows. Who knows? You might make a new friend that you never knew you were going to make because you left a review, and you become.
And we'll give you a shout out.
Sort of super listener. Yeah. And that's great. It's nice to hear your name sometimes when you're listening to the podcast you like. Unless you're not into that, then we won't say your name, but then you have to tell us somehow. All right, everybody. We are getting to go to Parks News.
Wow, that was interesting.
I felt like it kind of worked.
Okay, sure.
Right.
Yeah. Let's discuss some parks.
Hey, Rivers, the Railroad and Rivers of America attractions are reopened, which is awesome, but that also means that you can go over the trellis and the waterfall, which there's not 5 waterfalls, which in the concept art. The concept art, I do love concept art, but it's it also kind of takes the wind out of your sails when you're that's not the same.
You definitely over-exaggerate the awesomeness.
Yeah, they had beautiful waterfalls, and it's just like one waterfall. But have you been on it yet, Josh?
I have not. No, I'm planning to go this coming week.
Cool.
So I'll take some video.
Yeah.
Updates to come.
Sweet. Yeah, that's super late video. It'll be awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, I also will have some video from this past week's convention, so you can just take that information and stick it somewhere.
I'm going over our Harry Potter video stuff. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. We got some good stuff. But yeah,
hurry up and finish it so I can see it.
Well, there's no rush. Yeah, so the railroad's open. That's super cool. You know, it's nice to have the park be back to complete normal while Star Wars Land is being built, you know? Don't you think?
Yeah, and I mean, even if you're not interested in those things, like the Mark Twain riverboats or the canoes or whatever, like if that's not your thing, just know that like those things opening means that there are less lines elsewhere.
Yeah, and just like the people can get around the park a little better, and the transportation of the train, and people love riding the train and all that stuff. Yeah, it's good for congestion for the park, and it's nice. Part of the things I like about New Orleans Square is that it has a station. It actually? Yeah, it has an actual walk.
Yeah, it's a station. Yeah.
So I like that, right? Because it's just like you hear the sounds of the train, you can see the train, but you get to sit there and eat your beignets and your mint julep. So that's nice. And listen to some loud jazz music.
I like loud jazz music.
Yeah.
I do too. It's weird how it like we've made it background music, but it's also some like the loudest live music I've ever, like it.
Yeah.
It's very
It is
concussive.
true. Yeah.
Yeah. But Muppet Vision closes for refurbishment, maybe forever.
Yeah, it just went down this past week in Orlando. Muppet Vision at Disneyland is pretty much dead and gone. Even though the theater still sits there, it's pretty much gone. And in Orlando, they've been adding a lot of new Muppet stuff, but Muppet Vision's getting old. I think that they just closed it randomly. They didn't announce that they were going to refurbish it. So
because everyone will have vigils like they're doing for the Great Movie Ride.
Yeah, this might be the end of Muppet Vision, but know that to the Orlando people, know that you at least have the Muppet Show at Magic Kingdom. You have the Muppet Labs at Epcot. You have the Rizzo Muppet
Pizza
Restaurant.
place,
I mean, you have all these different Muppet things. Disneyland has 0 Muppets, so
So
take that as you will.
So fill Facebook with your complaints and concerns of the change of an attraction.
And I love Muppet Vision, but it's old, man.
It's like, I feel like being a Disney Parks fan is like one part going to the park and enjoying your time and 10 parts complaining about every change that's made.
We'll see. We'll see. Maybe they'll bring back a new Muppet Vision, an updated one. That's a possibility.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
I'll have to see something new.
But yeah, I wish, I don't know. I just wish the parks thing was a little different. I wish people would discuss it more than just be like, stupid idiots, I hate them, or
welcome to the internet comment section.
I know. But it's just I don't know. I just it's like I've been having to unfollow feeds on Facebook because it's just complaint after complaint or it's just
Dale's got a vendetta against some park people now.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I don't know. Anyways,
it's okay. We discussed it in a pretty proper length last week.
I know. It's
We agree with you. We do.
Oh yeah, exactly. You're just preaching to the choir here, man.
Yeah.
That's why I'm just. Anyways, Day of the Dead and Coco celebration coming to Disney California Adventure September 15th to November 2nd.
Yeah, and I think this is something, I don't know if we talked about it before, but it was something I think we predicted. It makes sense that they would, Coco comes out, I think, a few weeks later than the celebration, but it makes sense to still have it for Halloween. And all of Halloween time is basically September 15th through November 2nd, so it matches up perfectly with it. I hope that you're going to be able to meet some of the characters and hear some of the music from the film.
Yeah,
I think that will be something cool to see. And then just a great celebration altogether. I love being 100 miles away from Mexico because a lot of people in the area understand Dia de los Muertos around here. But then there's a lot of visitors that come from out of town that have no idea really about the celebration and they get to learn about it.
Yeah.
And so it's cool because there will be enough people there who live locally who love it that people who are from out of town will want to jump in on the celebration. And I'm excited about it. Plus, they usually bring back the Three Caballeros, and anybody who knows me knows I love that film and the characters. So hopefully I'll get to meet Jose.
There you go.
And it's a great. I actually think for DCA, and depending on the popularity of Coco, like that's a great element to have in the spooky celebrations that they'll be doing always. I think like it's in the Pixar Pier area.
Oh, for sure.
And it will be the celebration will be back in the Pixar Pier area.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. I think that's a really good idea to do for this movie. And like you said, people can learn about this thing that I think a lot of people just don't know anything about.
Yeah, even before the film, so you can be prepared.
Yeah. And just to finish off parks news, the Guardians Galaxy ride is phenomenal. So with that, let's move on to Gotta Geek Out. Got to geek out. Yo, you gotta geek out. That's the new song I wrote for it.
Okay.
Josh, Star Wars bullying.
Oh, no, that's me.
I just assumed.
Well,
but you're so Star Wars-y nowadays. It's kind of.
I know. I'm like all the Star Wars.
Get over it. Jeez.
Well, this is the thing that
30 years ago.
Well, that's actually kind of the problem. So I've noticed a lot of things on Twitter that a lot of fans are throwing a lot of hate at newer fans and especially female fans for how they're consuming Star Wars, how they've been introduced to Star Wars, and it has a lot to do with shipping, it has a lot to do with Forces of Destiny, and it's all coming out as a lot of like, you can't like Star Wars this way, you have to like it this way, and there's been a lot of like pointing and name calling, and it's just, I don't understand why we have to like hate on people for how they came into Star Wars. This is the reason why I never wanted to talk about why I don't really like the original trilogy that much, because I know that it's going to get a lot of hate, and I can't help it. I like, the sequel trilogy, and people seem to really not be okay with that right now.
The sequel trilogy?
The prequel trilogy.
The sequel trilogy.
Oh.
No. I like the sequel trilogy, and I like the prequel trilogy. But the original trilogy...
I see. You're saying you like the current
era.
Yeah, they are your two favorite. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so...
It's just getting a lot of hate, and I wanted to bring it up because I keep seeing it on Twitter all the time.
So, okay, there's two parts to this, though. Old dudes that suck. We know this, okay? So...
Well, it's not just old dudes.
No, I know. Okay, fine. Young dudes suck too. Dudes on the internet suck. And yes, people think like, when I was growing up, I don't know if you knew that I did that, but I did. I was the age, and so was Josh, of like, we were probably more into the prequels than the people before us. And they were like, well, you don't get why Phantom Menace sucks. And I was like, well, I liked Phantom Menace. Like, who cares? The Jedi's fought, and like Duel of the Fates, and Darth Maul, and like, yeah, and Padme, and pod racing. And I'm gonna go play pod racing games with my friends on the Nintendo 64. And the
game was fun.
That was super fun. And they're just like, they were very judgmental of me then for it, and but I would never like go out of my way. Like, I used to get on them because I'd be like, oh, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? I'd always be like, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? Empire Strikes Back. And they're like, well, yeah. I'm like, why? Because it's the darkest. And they're like, well, yeah. And it's like, yeah, that's because that's the thing you're supposed to say when you like Star Wars. I like Star Wars. I like Empire Strikes Back because it's the darkest. And when you fall outside of that realm, if you're like, well, actually, Return of the Jedi is my favorite of them, they're like, oh, Ewoks, yeah, merchandise machine. It's like, what? Don't you love Star Wars? I thought you said you love Star Wars. And that's the way it's been since day one. So I'm sorry that you're experiencing this now.
Well, and I understand that. It's just
like,
that...
Even go on Reddit and look at what the first freaking post of us sharing Discovering Star Wars with. It was a criticism of how the order in which we were watching them. And the whole point of the podcast was to watch them in that order because other people don't get to experience that. And that was still the first criticism. So I get it.
Yeah, I know you get it. I'm just saying
people be intense about Star Wars.
Yeah, it's just like that whole reason I think makes it harder for people to even get into Star Wars. Mm-hmm. This is why we're getting people that are suddenly like having to go find people that like Star Wars the same way that they like it so that they can get into it more.
Sure.
I think that's the whole reason I never really wanted to get into it before, because I just knew that there was like, you could watch them wrong or whatever, which is not true at all. So.
There's also just like,
and we proved that that's not the case. Like the you know what I mean? Like I'm on you with the whole order thing, but yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like when I, interviewed, and talking about looking for Leia, like the whole idea about Star Wars conventions and now women coming out, like, right, the idea was laid out to me, and it's true. Like, women have always been fans of Star Wars. Like, there have been minorities that have always been fans of Star Wars, but it was always kind of seen as like a white guy gathering. Mm-hmm. And like people were kind of afraid to be like the one loner woman or the one loner, minority or whatever the case may be, like in that situation. And now that people are coming out and saying like, hey, I really like Star Wars, and especially like after this many years removed from the prequels, that people are saying like, like my favorite character is Anakin, or is Padme, or is Darth Maul, or Qui-Gon, or whomever. It's like, sure, like that's, for some people it's like, sure, that's acceptable, and it's just like, no, you need to love Darth Vader, you need to love Luke. Like, these characters aren't as superior as these characters, and it's like there's there is like a whole hierarchy.
People get
within
upset.
The fandom.
Yeah, and it's because you took that we say Kylo Ren's the strongest Force user we've ever seen, and people
because you took away like the white guy, right? So many people have, I guess, like so many people from 77 to like 1999 viewed Star Wars a certain way, and then over the last 20 years, we've now seen it change and grow and develop in different ways. And people and fans have developed in different ways. And I think that the older generation, or the people who love the original trilogy so much, like want to grasp on to what they love about it so much that they're fearful of what other people love.
Well, original Star Wars people, for them, Star Wars changed what movies could be, and for us that isn't the case. We are, as I've been described, post-Star Wars people. And
post-Star Wars, bro.
Post-Star Wars people, we have problems with 2001: A Space Odyssey and things like that. Like we're like, for us that's not what our sci-fi epics are. And so they have this like different type of connection with it, and it's totally fine. But I have a connection with it as well, like sitting in my room not even knowing what Star Wars was, but knowing
you can't deny that experience,
being drawn to the VHS tapes and just being like, who's that green guy? Can't wait to get to that episode where that green guy shows up. It's important to just like chill out about Star Wars. But also I think like you have to know that you're saying an inflammatory comment like, I don't like the original trilogy.
Right. No, and
like, it's one thing to be like, I don't like it as much, but to say like you don't like it entirely.
Yeah. Right. That thing that was your favorite when you grew up? I hate it.
Yeah. No, and that's not that is true, and I understand that, and that's kind of not really what has been happening, though. What's been happening is that people are angry that what has been really happening is that people are angry that like girls are coming in and messing up Star Wars, because now there's too many female characters and now everybody's shipping all of these characters. Like, well, no, that was always here. It's just now we're trying to let little girls enjoy this too with Forces of Destiny, and people are just throwing so much hate about that around. And it's like, I don't see why we can't let this be for everybody. So,
like, there had to have been people, I mean, I wasn't around, but like there had to have been people in the early 80s, late 70s who were for Luke and Leia being together, and then another group of people who were for Han and Leia being together, right? Like there had to be that group
ship
of
war.
yeah, and like there had to have been that group of people who were way into it. And then like the second movie came out, and like they were like, oh, they're brother and sister. Ugh, I guess I was not on board with the right group here.
Some people probably still were shipping them.
They're probably.
I think some people still ship it to this day. Yeah.
But that had to have happened. That had like you have to look at the entire scope of it, and like, yes, you love a certain thing because of the way it was, but you understand now like that a small segment of the entire story is what you love. Like there's just this ongoing growing universe, and like eventually like we're going to get to a point where we're the people who are like our version of Star Wars was better. But that's okay because like we can have our own version and be fine with it. Like I don't care. I don't care like that there's new characters and that they're good. As long as they don't all suck, I'm fine.
I like the idea. I like how the current Star Wars has more mystery in them. You know, like there's more well, how does this fit? Where does this go? What does this do? Right? Where you didn't even really know that Star Wars had that originally. That's what's so great about the big reveal, is it's a reveal that you didn't even know was being revealed to you. So yeah, so I like the new ones. Also, Forces of Destiny is pretty rad, and they're short and they're on YouTube, and you like literally don't have to watch them if they like. There's not they're not playing.
Yeah, they're free.
I know, that's the whole thing. It's like you don't have to watch them, and they're not for you to fill in all these gaps about these characters. They are literally to give like an entry point to younger viewers who don't know anything about Star Wars. It's literally what it's for.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you know, but I think that there could be a whole episode talking about what your problems with the original trilogy are.
Well, if you go over and listen to me talk about Rogue One, I'd talk about that a little bit on there on Story Geeks.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. So yeah, make sure to continue to check out Story Geeks. Shannon was on. You're on 2 episodes or 2 parts?
2.
Mm-hmm. Two of them.
Mm-hmm. 2. That's right, Dale.
That's right.
2.
Well, it was 1 that he split into 2 because it was really long.
I wonder where you learnt that style from. So that's cool. Well, it's okay that you. I think like it. You need to watch them more. I love. You know, I still say the fight between Luke and Darth Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi is still on par in a lot of ways with fights in the other films. It's a different style. Okay. It's a different style of fight, but the intensity and the importance of it is all there.
Can we agree though the Obi-Wan Darth Vader fight is pretty lackluster?
Oh man, no, that's like the best fight out of the entire franchise.
Obi-Wan Darth Vader is the worst fight. Yeah, it's Obi-Wan Anakin is pretty good.
Yeah, Obi-Wan Anakin's the best one, but I don't know, man. Old man fighting, it's pretty great.
Yeah. And even to the New Hope, Darth and not New Hope Empire, Darth and Luke just getting his butt kicked like all over the place, and Darth Vader just toying with him the entire time. I don't know. That's also great. So yeah, there's some good stuff in those films. I want to talk to you about it more, but we don't have time.
Okay, well we can talk about it, and that can be a bonus episode.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's interesting. Because you like you're super knowledgeable in Star Wars now. You're a huge passionate fan. So for me, I'm like legitimately curious. It's not as a criticism, and I'm not going to attack you on the internet.
Just attack you in real life.
Be like attack me in real life.
This Twitter account, not Dale, and it'll just be like you. So.
Yeah, not Dale, just spamming it.
Thanks, Midsummer Scream.
Yeah, I'm super stoked. So you brought up the green character in Star Wars. I was at a panel. This will be my entry point into this discussion. I was at a panel, Midsummer Scream, which is an entire convention about everything Halloween. And when I say everything Halloween, I mean like there was a panel about costumes. There was a panel about the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. There was announcements for like Universal and Knott's Berry Farm for what they're doing this year for Halloween. there were haunted houses, like miniature haunted houses, to like give you a preview of what's to come in the Los Angeles area this year. There were escape rooms. I went on a scavenger hunt where I joined like a weird religious cult. There was movie screenings. Like there was so much to do. But like I went to a panel about Halloween costumes and kind of like licensing and Halloween costumes. And did you know that like Cooper's Costumes was the first to license Star Wars? And they did so before they even knew what some of the characters looked like. They actually were given sketches and rough drawings of Yoda like years before Yoda made it into Return of the Jedi. And they made the costume blue. And for like the first couple of years, Yoda was a costume in the stores that you could buy, and he was like deep dark blue.
So yeah, there's pictures. There's definitely early drawings of a blue Yoda. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they also had a Spider-Man costume that was yellow before they knew. They just like licensed out costumes all the time for characters that like were just in concept in hopes that they would land. And then when they did land and they were different, it was like, oh, okay. Well, this old first version of this costume is now worth like $20,000. And you used to be able to buy it like at the department store for like $1.50.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's super crazy. And then I went to a couple of haunted houses, a couple of escape rooms. The only thing I want to say, because we were going to have a video about it, Angie and I shot a video, and we're going to have it up this week on the channel. But I want to point out that, like, if you're into Halloween and you're into any of those kinds of things, horror movies or haunted houses and stuff like that, like Los Angeles, when I moved here, I knew it was going to be exciting because, like, everyone that works on haunted houses and stuff also works on set designs for movies. There's a lot of actors that do all kinds of stuff, not just Halloween stuff. So if you're into that kind of stuff, this is definitely a mecca for Halloween, just because of all the people that already live here and kind of do those things for movies anyway. Monster makeup, set design, acting, etc. And if you're interested in Halloween and those things going on in Los Angeles and you're not able to like stay here for a long time, I would suggest coming to Midsummer Scream. It's an every year convention. It happened this last weekend, but it also happened next year. And you get a taste of kind of what the Los Angeles Halloween scene is like. All of the haunted houses that were there, I think there were 14 in total. And you could walk through them within a matter of like 2 or 3 minutes. So they're very short previews. The escape rooms that we did, the length of them was 10 minutes to escape. So very short. But like for one of them, done by this brilliant company called Crossroads, they tied me and Angie up together in what do you call it? Like a jacket for a crazy person.
A straight jacket?
Straight jacket, yes. We were connected together in a straight jacket, and one arm each. And we basically had to go through this whole padded room and figure a way out of this padded room with all these clues and stuff in a very, I would say, a 5x5 space, and figure out how to get out within 10 minutes and only be able to use one arm each. And it was done really well with a very confined space. Stuff like that is just incredible here. And so if you're into Halloween and you're like, I wish things were scarier around my town, or I wish they were more themed, or whatever the case may be, come out here and check out Midsummer Scream. I can guarantee you will have a good time.
Awesome.
That's super cool. Sweet. Thanks, man. That's awesome. Let's do a community shout out before we close the show.
A couple of people submitted questions. When we came back from the D23 Expo, we got a email from Rebecca Michaels because Shannon had made a single one-off comment in the live show saying that she loved California Adventure better than Disneyland, and like Star Wars, it is not cool to love California Adventure.
I didn't know that was a bad thing to say.
Well, here's the thing: most people who know about the history of California Adventure, like myself, they know that California Adventure for its first few years was like just a struggle. It didn't compare to Disneyland at all, and now that California Adventure is kind of growing and it is becoming more and more comparable to Disneyland, even though it still isn't as popular. The attractions are better, the theming is getting better, etc. And it was only your first experience there. You don't know what was there before. You have no idea that there were claymation.
Shocker, Shannon's not a parks person.
Yeah,
to start off with that.
So you didn't have the recollection of like what California Adventure was previously. You had your first experience at California Adventure. And I think I'll just put out my opinion for what I think why your reasoning is. I think there's less crowds at California Adventure, so it's quicker and easier to get on attractions. And usually at this point, Disneyland is putting Disneyland Resort, not just the park, Disneyland Resort is adding a lot of its larger, more thrilling attractions over at California Adventure because of the space issues that are going on at Disneyland. There's not a lot of space at Disneyland. So you're getting more thrilling e-ticket attractions with fewer crowds at California Adventure. And that's why I think a lot of people enjoy it. It's an easier day. It's not as stressful. So, but what's your reasoning?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It wasn't as stressful. I mean, granted, I did spend more time there, but I just liked that everything was like a little bit more open. I know at Disneyland things were a little bit narrow and there were more people there, but like I've done like, you know, Magic Kingdom at Disney World, so I kind of already knew what to expect. And granted, it is different. There was new stuff and I wanted to see like the stuff that I hadn't seen before. But just when I go back and think about it, I just liked the way California Adventure was set up. I liked, you know, the rides we went on. I just had more fun there. So, which can also just be because we went there twice. But I don't know. I just liked it better.
Yeah, I love California Adventure. Like, I think Buena Vista Street is just as beautiful in its own way as Main Street. I think the Redwood Trees area and the Grizzly River area is beautiful. I love that ride. It's so much fun. Like, we had so much fun. the four of us
Grizzly River rides. Yeah.
You know, I love DCA. It's now got like probably my second favorite ride on the Guardians of the Galaxy ride. So, you know, it's it's a great place. And Pier is just going to make it even better, and Marvel Land's going to make it even better. So, yeah, DCA is a solid place. And then Aaron also asks, with Marvel having so many shows, will Star Wars get more shows? I don't know. I think they can. I think it can. I think Rogue One proves that you can do like different stories about people. We have one cartoon going. The thing about that is, I think like there's more protection around the Star Wars canon than there is the Marvel canon right now.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I would also say, like, he brought up this too. He wrote us on Facebook. Like, there's so many characters, different superheroes, right, in Marvel, that you can kind of make a different show, that's what they're doing, for every single character. With Star Wars, we're kind of giving, at least originally, one solid story about several characters, an ensemble cast. That ensemble's grown, but we're still including, Luke in the original trilogy, in the sequel trilogy, in the newer trilogy, and we haven't really like diverged beyond Rogue One from that story, from that larger story. Like, could we see more television shows that are based solely on side characters or something, and creating
like Rebels,
new characters. Yeah, like Rebels. Can we continue to move into that direction? And I think Star Wars will eventually. I think they'll take their time in doing so because they don't have the amount of comics already based on characters. They don't have the amount of like already established characters. They're creating everything new from scratch.
Oh yeah, for real. Because like I think telling stories kind of like where Rebels is situated or just like in between the trilogies is a really good idea because it helps bridge that gap more. So I would like to see more from that, especially like in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. I think that'd be really cool. And I feel like they've still been afraid to kind of go back towards prequel territory, and they've kind of been like afraid to like, because they don't want to give stuff away for their newer stuff. So if they go newer, but I would like to see more stories, especially since the books seem to not be telling them very well. But I did get some good advice from my video, so there is still hope.
Yeah,
you could see
spoiler: Star Wars books aren't well written.
But you could see like a Cassian show and like see like where like his character came from. Like Rogue One taught us that we can accept kind of a whole new group of people. There's not a lot of familiarity besides like, okay, I know how this ends. With Rogue One, and because of that, it's like, oh, okay, I can accept all these new characters. Great. Now probably the people at Lucas are saying, how do we continue to create new characters in this same vein?
Yeah,
so
I don't need Star Wars with Jedi. Is basically, we don't need Star Wars with Jedi.
It's fine.
Jedi do not make Star Wars.
No, I think the world makes Star Wars. Like, we don't even need familiar characters. I think just being in the world and telling new stories is good enough.
How about, like, stories that don't involve, like, the Republic and the Rebellion? Like, there's got to be people on planets and, like, doing stuff that they're just doing their own thing. And, like, they're not impacted by all of this stuff. Like, like, you could just tell stories in the galaxy.
Yeah.
And they could be, or you could be just all Hutts. Could just be all Hutt storylines, and it's just all black market stuff, and and the Empire's just this thing that you run from, but I don't know.
So to answer your question, Aaron, I think it will come, but not yet. In time, and we'll get them slowly. We won't get, which thank God, like we won't get 5 Marvel shows dropped on network television in the same season.
Yeah, exactly.
That's gonna be a lot.
It's a lot, guys.
A little bit.
This has been episode 27 of the Disney Culture Club. It has been a blast. I love doing it. I love watching Shannon get perturbed, and I guess actually everyone kind of gets perturbed while we do this show, so that's fine. No, I was kidding. Don't bully people for how they love Star Wars, everybody.
Or anything.
Make sure to like us, share, subscribe. You get great moments like that. It's so fun. Isn't it fun for everybody?
Just Josh staring
when people think that
camera.
Josh actually is mad and hates me. It's fun for everybody. I don't know how to end the show. I feel awkward now, and it's super weird, but I have kids staring at me, and they don't understand how radio and television work, but that's okay.
Keep on moving, people.
Bye.
Bye, double hand wave. Leave a review.